Oh, good.
So it is 6:35, June 25th, and the Park Authority Board meeting is order. We're going a little bit out of order today. We're starting with our second committee on our schedule because we do not yet have a quorum in the room. So if there's any board members online right now, I cannot read you guys in. So I have to hold tight for the moment. Once we do get to 7, we'll get you guys involved. So we'll start with the budget committee first, because there are no action items taking place coming out of that committee. So Tim.
Okay, so I call the budget committee to order. And Katie, Josh, you have the floor. Thank you.
Katie Miga, Business Office Manager.
Josh Coleman, Park Services.
Jump to the next slide. We do have a fund update, so coming in FY26. So there is a new, it's called a special revenue fund, but it's not associated with our park revenue and operating fund. It's for the tax dollars. Can you go to the next, there you go. And we can go to the next slide. This is for our general fund dollars and the dollars that go to the county, the general construction and contributions fund. So Fund 300 is what we had termed it previously. It would be combining those two funds into one single fund called the Park General Operations and Capital Fund. So we're moving with this. It will be official when FY25 carryover is reviewed by the Board of Supervisors. So when that's done in September. However, we're starting with FY26 on July 1, so we don't have to do all these mid-year switches. So we will be starting, put expenses there starting July 1, so next week. So the benefits to the Park Authority are that the funds will carry over from year to year. So whereas now when the general fund, like we have to use up all of our money or it's gone, with this one now all of our money will carry over from year to year. Also the budgeted amount. So for general fund, the way the county budgets for benefits, it's put in a separate location. So we never see that budgeted money and the expenses hit elsewhere. So in this new fund, the actual budgeted amounts for general fund employees, the benefits will go into this fund. So the estimate is that there will be some flexibility. So we'll have some additional funding based on that because our actuals don't meet the budgeted amount. So we will get some additional funding that way from the benefits. It also will give more transparency of tax supported operating budget for staff. So instead of it being confusing that it's in these two different funds, it will now be brought together, which will also give transparency for the public too. It's a little easier to understand that it's going all to one place. And also to have some administrative efficiencies by having both the operating and the capital together instead of separate. That's all. That's the overview of the new fund. I don't know if anybody has any questions on that before we move on to the next.
I'm sorry, Mike. Yes, please.
That's right. Just to understand.
Yes.
So right now, the county's always put all the benefit money in some fund somewhere else that we don't have, that we don't know exactly how much, and more importantly, the public has no idea what about. So now, all of the benefits, does that include retirement benefit? Is that all the benefits for a general fund employee?
Yes.
So today they budget in a fund, Agency 89, which is all general fund employees. All the benefits are in that fund. So every general fund budget does not have a benefit line item in it, totally separate. But to your point, it would include all benefits, the retirement benefits, health, everything associated with a general fund employee. So
I'm sorry.
it's not a budget increase, right? So they are budgeting for every employee that's out there in this benefits fund. It's typically not allocated out to each individual agency. So because we'll be moving, so we're paying benefits, right? The Park Authority for all the employees, we're spending $15 million a year in general fund employee benefits. We just don't get that budget. And the county has that budget rolled into what they call this Fund 89. So they'll move that amount that we're paying for benefits into this new fund.
So, I always thought the county was paying them, not the Park Authority for those benefits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so the county's paying them, but now it's gonna come into our budget.
Oh, we're exactly.
No, I understand. I'm just,
Yeah.
okay.
Can go ahead.
Will that only include active employees, or is it gonna include retirement? like, if somebody retires, is that sitting in some bank account that we're now overseeing and floating around in our world?
I think it would be a separate, because that position would then have to become somebody different when we fill it again to pay. It doesn't,
So this is just the active.
The active, I believe it's associated with active. We can get the full clarification on it since we haven't traditionally had to pay for benefits along those lines, what the rules are when retirement kicks in and how they fund that. But I believe it's for active employees is what this fund is covering rather than like the long-term retirement contributions you're talking about.
And I would think that we would want to consider somehow, because you talk about the fact that we can carry things over. We have had sinking funds and stuff where in the past we were able to build up money from year to year. And folks across the street have sometimes said, oh, we're going to cut your budget, but we see you have that fund over there that you can pull from. So it's actually sometimes not been super helpful from a budget. I'm just wondering, I just want to make sure that there's some way to help the public and across the street supervisors and their staff understand what's going on so they don't think there's some big pot of money here that, you know, why aren't you using this for some other project you're asking us to fund?
Yeah, so with this fund, even as it's general operations and capital, we will have the ability to distinguish between the two. Typically, when we talk about carryover, it's on the capital side, right? We've got the construction fund today where we're carrying over sometimes larger balances associated with project and capital projects. So we'll have the ability still to, we fully maximized and spent our general fund $37 million. We'll still have that ability to show this is the operations side versus the capital side, even in this new fund structure. You're just referring to the overall
I'm
balance
just saying that one of the benefits you talked about was the fact that we can carry over money year to year. You mentioned that we have to spend down to zero. And I understand the negative to that, but I also know that all of a sudden, if we have an account that's accumulating money from year to year, that has sometimes been used against us in a budgeting process. I just want to be cognizant of that and think about how we make sure we navigate that so that we don't face a, oh, we're going to cut this money from you, but you can go pick it up over here when we were planning to use it some other way.
I think it's an understanding of the fact that it will make us a very unique agency because everybody doesn't have county construction dollars, but we have to make it very clear to everybody in the public that the categories are still going to exist. So we can't use, as much as we not love to, but we couldn't take forestry dollars and go and, I don't know, pick something, add somebody in Marcom, because the money isn't like fungible in that way. It's still the same thing. It's just with a different title.
typically our capital dollars where we have those balances are already associated with. And so I think it's continuing to tell that when you see a balance, it's not associated with flexibility here that it can be I think that's what you're saying,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. I just
That we don't magically now have flexibility in our general fund budget because of this. Those dollars associated with capital projects and capital and maintenance oriented expenses, they're the same as what they are.
Rich, you had a question?
Yeah, I kind of related to what Mike said. You've mentioned that this new combined fund allows you to carry over funds. What limits are there on carryover and how much you can retain? They're not like no-year funds. You just can't keep them indefinitely. Is there any limit on when they have to be used?
I don't think so. I think it just carries over from year to year. I can't imagine that we're gonna have some big.
Assuming.
When we carry over dollars, generally speaking, it's not that we lack. I don't want to leave anybody out there thinking that we don't need all of our maintenance dollars. It's usually to pay for one big thing. So we don't have enough money in the one year to pay for a large thing that I'm just going to pick on Kim, that Kim needs to do. So we'll carry that money over and wait till it accumulates the amount, and then we'll pay for the thing. There are no categories. It's like, oh, we forgot. You know what I mean? It doesn't carry over like that. It's usually strategic.
I mean, my former career doing federal appropriations, I understand, they use it or lose it because in federal, you have this rush of spending in September. They hit October, and that's not necessarily a good thing. But we also had to keep our eye on agencies where, because some accounts in the federal government are also no-year funds. And so they are allowed to carry over, but we wanted to make sure that they were spending it in a timely manner. And I didn't know if the county has any limits on you, but it's more just internal here. sounds like.
So for all intents and purposes, these are encumbered funds anyway,
What do you mean?
for a project or for something within those categories.
They're categorized
Right.
for, they're put in, the Fund 300 are put in specific
Fund 300
forestry.
is a mix of
Yes.
capital projects and a mix of maintenance type
Right.
operations.
Correct.
but-
Katie, was this your last chart on this item?
Yeah, I have a couple of
That's fine,
questions.
yeah.
Sorry, okay.
So if we take a giant step back, right now, when county budget comes out, there's that pie chart that says where the money goes. Right now, we're set up in there to be whatever it is, $37 million. That's what that's what we look like historically, whatever that. I don't know what the code for that one is, but whatever that one is, that's all that the public would see. They don't see the other stuff going on. So next year when that chart comes out, it's going to be the $37 million plus these funds that are getting consolidated. So we are going to look like we've received a substantial increase in funds, which will clearly not be the case. This isn't going to change how much money has actually come to us. It's just an accounting trick, for lack of a better phrase.
Our budget is essentially the same, right? We've
Yeah.
gotten no more money of this. There are some benefits of potential flexibility
Right.
in the future, but our budget is the same as what it is today. So
In a second. So it's going to look, what I'm worried about is it's going to look to the public like we've received an influx of funds that we have not actually received. So one thing I would ask for going back some handful of years, 5 to 10 years, what would that look like
Combined.
combined, let's go back so we could say, you know, in what's 10 years ago, 2015, we were at $55 million and in 2026, we're at $60 million. So that you can actually see what the actual growth is or stagnation, or whatever the case may be, decline. And to the extent that we could break it out at all by any of those categories to see how they moved, that would be great too. But at the very least, just kind of get a sum total, just to get a sense of what growth we are or are not seeing.
yeah, we can pull that together, what it would have been 5
And
years
then
ago or 10 years ago.
One last thing on there before we go back to Mike. So right now, the budget cut exercise we're about to go through is 5% on the 30 whatever million dollars. Is it going to be, if we have a cut exercise again next year or in the future, is it going to be 5% on this new total or?
So we will, in the next presentation on the budget, 5%, we'll talk about that, but no, it'll be based on operations. So what today is the general fund, with benefits included, which would be, typically associated with the operational side, but capital will remain separate. It would not count towards a percentage cut if there was a future cut, unless the county's doing something broadly with capital projects where they would say, hey, the county construction fund needs to be reviewed or looked at in kind of a budget cut process. Then our capital fund would likely fall in that same bucket. But short of that, that money should remain separate, not count towards a future cut process.
Good deal. Thank you.
Mike?
Do you know I mean, and I've heard different numbers, but do you know roughly what the benefit amount is on a dollar for an employee? I've been told different numbers, but do you know roughly what it is?
I don't know 100%. We can get you the exact number. I believe we've last estimated the value when we request a new position, somewhere around 52% of.
So call it 50% just for, so what is our general fund employee salary line item today before this happens?
I think it's in the tune of 15-ish million, Katie. I'm not.
Well, the compensation is around 30, which then would make benefits around 15. If we do that math. So
Well,
it's 30 million,
But no,
we'd have to
but
do
to Kyle's
per
point,
person.
no, I understand, but what I'm thinking about is to Kyle's point. If there's $30 million worth of general fund employees that are in our budget line item now, next year that number's gonna be 45.
Yes.
So they'll be perceived to be a $15 million increase. One thing that we may want to think about is that when you're presenting budgets and numbers to us, so that the year-to-year comparisons still work, is to keep the benefit number as a separate line item, separate from the salary number, so that the year to year looking backwards comparison still works.
We will do that. I was going to say exactly that. We'll continue to call it out separately, so there's not confusion in whether either we'll bring in what it was historically or not included in whatever that amount is. We frequently call it out separately on the revenue fund side that you all have fiduciary responsibility for, because it is a separate line item, so it's easy for us to
Right.
have that level of detail for
I just think,
future.
especially as we go through the beginning, doing the comparisons is going to be important to,
Absolutely.
thank you.
Any other questions on this topic? Okay, thanks.
To the second information item, which is about the FY 27 budget. And the guidance that we received from DMB. So we can go to the next slide. So again, budget isn't looking great for FY 27. So there's still, it's a challenging picture looking forward. So what DMB has requested agencies do is to provide reductions of 5%. So in previous years, last year they asked for 10%. I think in FY
7.
7.
Last year was 10.
Last year was
Yeah,
10,
you-
the year
the year
before
before
was
was
7%. But this year, what they said was they're only asking for 5, but basically they're gonna take all 5. Or it's most likely that they're gonna take all 5, rather than asking for 10 and then only taking 5. So when we put this forward and what our reductions are, we should know that it's probably gonna get
Was that 5 requested of us or of every agency?
every,
Okay, so it's not us 5, somebody
Yeah.
7, somebody 3.
At least it
Everybody
won't be
right, that's fine.
disproportionate.
yeah. And these reductions, as we talked about earlier, the reductions are based on the operating budget, not on the capital side. So even still, we're still at that, 36 about million is what our budget is. And with this newly combined fund, DMB has confirmed that it's not, that the benefits will be included. So it will increase next year for what our operating is considered and what that percentage, if we have to do this again for FY 28, what that percentage would be, but the capital side would not be considered unless, countywide, they start looking at the capital budget and taking reductions to the capital budget. So for 5% for us, that's a little over 1.8 million of what we're gonna have to put forward. For new funding requests, just like last year, they must fall into either new facilities, contract rate increases, or critical county operations. Go to the next slide.
For the, can I just, before, while you're,
That's fine.
where you're going, when she says, assume that it will be taken, it'll be taken in Brian's proposed budget. That does mean that they're likely going to be a higher amount for, reconciliation, what do we call it here? Put back, what is it called? I feel like I'm speaking a different language. When the board puts it back, what's it called? Markups, yes, that they'll be adding more. So they're basically the cut that Brian is going to suggest is going to be larger. So there's going to be a lot more value in the talking to the supervisors to try to get more put back. That make, towards the end, it made sense? Okay.
Yes, eventually.
Go to the next slide. All right, so this is the budget timeline. Again, it's just like what we did last year. So we will be working through this summer, coming up with what those reductions will be and starting to put together that package. So we'll have that meeting in August where we present, what we put together for your input on that. So then it's due in September to DMB is when we will have to submit those budget reductions. And then in October, those requests were submitted for review in October of 25, and then DMB, internally, they're doing their thing. So in February of 26 is when the county executive will put out his advertised budget. Same thing, we'll do the public hearings in March. And that's when they go through and start to do that markup. So then in April 26th is when the board will vote on that and then adopt it in May. May of 26 is when we want the
So at our August meeting, are we going to just talk about the reductions? Or are we going to talk more conceptually about the FY 27 submission? Our budget is our budget requests for
The
27
budget requests,
aren't until October.
No, the budget requests are
Due in
due in
September.
September at the same time. We don't have, yes, we can only request those things on the, so, so the
So are we
budget
gonna cover
guidance.
both of those items at the August meeting, or are we gonna cover just the reductions and then the requests at a later meeting?
Well, I mean, we'll probably cover both of the items. I mean, the
Yeah.
one item is not an item. It's, I can tell you what they are right now. The budget guidance for this year, they'll have the trash and recycling, the full thing, but benefits and what's the third thing? OBI. That's the three. There's only three that we can submit for
Yes,
a
I
new
thought,
initiative.
okay.
And so we'll do both of those. I mean, it's still gonna be a significant number because the trash and recycling is pretty high. It's pretty good get with the staffing. So that's gonna be in there. But I just wanna, so it's gonna seem counterintuitive to be doing the 1.8 million, but then proposing. So our ask is actually gonna be higher than the
Yes.
cut because of the trash and recycling of wanting to do that.
Speaking of carryover, do we have what's the latest sense on if we think any of the one-time money for the trash and recycling is gonna come through?
It's being proposed in carryovers in the budget guidance. So from everything that I've heard, that's where they're going. Well, I'll know more about that next month.
Okay, just looking at this, I apologize, just because what you just said made me just start thinking in my head. September, reviews endorses general fund budget package and potential reduction package. Reduction package submitted to DMB. Baseline budget request submitted for review is listed as October. The baseline budget request, that's not the new projects. That's just
That's just, I would say that's general timing on when baseline budget stuff is due, separate from the cut package having to
Yes.
be submitted
They're-
prior to that.
Separate date.
Right, so it's more of an internal thing at that point of,
I would think you're gonna have to have a lot of that already done.
Right.
That's what we've done in the past. I just.
we're expecting to have our full package
Okay,
done by
okay.
September for.
Okay.
And at what point in this process will we be scheduling meetings with the supervisors?
So we usually do that around, so we submit the budget in September. So when did we do it last time? October
did it in
1st?
October.
And then we'll do it again in the spring, because we're one of the only agencies who make our budget requests are public. It'll be out in the public at that point in time. We don't want the supervisors to hear from the public, so we'll be meeting with them to explain sort of everything that's in. But then as they were explaining, there'll be a gap when it goes into the whole, thing, and then we'll meet again after the county executive
the
releases.
advertised budget.
Yes, correct.
So we'll be back next meeting to talk through kind of the more detailed budget timeline in terms of the meetings with you all. Public comment period that we've had the last several years, and the fee process also as part of this that gets rolled into kind of that fall budget calendar that starts to show up. So that'll be the July 9th meeting with kind of that full detailed, all the next meetings to come.
Anything further?
That's it.
Any other questions? Okay, yeah. Awesome.
So given that whatever we end up endorsing begrudgingly, to send over across the street is likely to be taken, in that the last 2 years, the last year in particular, a significant portion of that was maintenance. I'd really like to not see maintenance be on there at all. Are we think we're gonna go beyond just generating again the lists that we've seen the last 2 years? Are we thinking differently? What do we have?
Yes, it'll be a mix, I think, of some new items. With some items we probably previously submitted. The DMB has given guidance that things that weren't taken previously are okay to submit again. But I would think there'd be some new items as well.
Okay.
I will say that I think the last 2 years, I mean, being sophisticated and knowing sort of reading the tea leaves, I think definitely the first time there's a little bit of a hope that was the only time. And the second time was like, oh, we gotta do this again. I think that by this time, I'm pretty sure of the fact that this is not gonna be our last one. There will be a cut exercise next year. I just don't see it ending soon. So that's also a thought process of trying to figure out how to, and I attribute it to Chris Leonard all the time. He said the first time that the county cut, the whole county cut through fat. The second time is muscle. This is definitely bone the next time. So it's sort of managing that to make sure that that doesn't make next year catastrophic. So we might want to leave something a little bit on the table so that we're not literally cutting off major limbs. This is getting morbid, but yes.
So looking at this timeline. Because the other thing that I think we're gonna be working on simultaneously is going to be the bond request.
Yes.
for the 2026
Mhm.
bond cycle.
Yep.
Which is theoretically here, we want to spend all this money for all these new things. While also saying we're cutting these other things.
Yep.
Where does that, where's the overlap in terms of those two processes? I mean, what's that timeline look like compared with this timeline?
That would be till fall.
Late fall,
done.
early winter.
Yeah, but I mean, I was thinking, in the middle of this budget fight, we're gonna be talking, oh, and here's the bond process.
Yeah.
That we're gonna be going through.
Yeah, because typically we wouldn't submit those bonds and bond categories until like March.
Right.
And the new things, remember, we're going to be looking at them more on a 1 to 2 year sort of focus for the smaller new things. But one of the exercises that we've been talking to Kyle and we're talking about everybody else about OBI associated with new parks, and we say we're not going to open them if we don't have the money. And I don't say that in a threatening type of way. The county might not have the money, right? It just might not be beneficial to open a whole bunch of stuff and have the OBI. Then we have to have something else in our pockets to spend that money on. Otherwise, we're not going to not do any projects. Does that make sense? Sort of.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, Katie and Josh, thank you very much. The Budget Committee meeting is adjourned.
All right. And now that we have a quorum in the room, I assume people are still on, Diane. Okay. All right. Virginia law authorizes remote participation of board members, provided that a policy exists to ensure that such remote participation is consistently administered. This board has approved policy 111. Any such remote attendance must be approved by the board as long as a physical quorum of the board is actually present. Voices of the remote participants are able to be heard by everyone in the room, and the remote participation comports with the policy. And step one of that is verification of the remote participant's voice being clear, audible, and at appropriate volume for the meeting room, and a confirmation of the location. We have a couple of people joining us remotely. Ken, you're up first. Are you connected to this meeting remotely?
I'm connected remotely. My name is Ken Quincy. I'm participating from my residence in the Providence District.
Thank you. I move that Mr. Quincy's voice will be adequately heard from his location. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. Faisal, you're also on. Can you give us your name and location?
This is Faisal Khan. I'm at my residence in Providence District.
Thank you. I move that Faisal Khan's voice may be adequately heard from his location.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. I don't see her, but
She is.
she is.
Yep.
Dr. Carter, can you please state your name and location for the record?
Yes, Cynthia Jacobs Carter. I am located at my home in Franconia District.
Thank you very much. I move that Dr. Carter's voice will be adequately heard from her location.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. And then step two is verification of the remote participant's physical absence comports with the policy. Pursuant to Park Authority Policy 111 for remote participation in public meetings, move that Mr. Quincy, Mr. Khan, and Dr. Carter be permitted to participate remotely in this meeting because it comports with the policy we adopted and a physical quorum is present here at the Park Authority Boardroom, 9th floor, Harry Building.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries, and then we will go back and do the Administration and Board Management Committee. Faisal, you have the floor.
All right, this is Faisal Khan. I call to the order for the administration and board management meeting. And Diane, it's over to
you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Diane Cabral, and I'm the Board Liaison and Management Analyst in the Director's Office. I'm presenting the committee item this evening for the Administration and Board Management Committee. Tonight's item is an action item regarding our electronic meeting policies. The Park Authority Board Policy for Remote Participation in Public Meetings, Policy 111, and the Policy for All Virtual Public Meetings, Policy 112, require annual approval by the Park Authority Board. Both Policies 111 and Policy 112 need to be reviewed and adopted annually. There have been no legislative changes during the 2025 legislative session for either policy. And as I mentioned, both policies need to be adopted annually, and we usually do this about this time of year between June and early July. As a review, Policy 111 allows for the remote participation during Park Authority Board meetings and ensures these meetings are conducted lawfully under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. And I'll just mention, since Kyle just read our virtual participants in on the MS Teams meeting, that's exactly what that policy allows for. Policy 112 allows for the participation by board members and the public during all virtual Park Authority Board meetings and ensures that these meetings are also conducted lawfully under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. And our last meeting on June 11th was just that, an all virtual public meeting for the Park Authority Board. Are there any questions for either policy? That concludes my remarks, other than to.
All right. So, okay, do you have another item, Diane, or?
That's all.
All right, so any questions from anybody? Comments? Well, seeing and hearing none, do we have to vote on this right now, or
Consensus to move it.
Consensus to move
Consensus
it forward.
to move it forward.
is there consensus to move this forward?
Yes.
All right, there you go.
Great.
So with that, we'll adjourn this meeting.
Thank you, Faisal.
Good
All right.
job, Faisal.
That was a surprise.
It was.
But it was an inside job.
We're back.
as I said.
All right, it is 7:30. We are back live and in session.
It was.
Adria, I understand we have a speaker or two this evening.
Sally Lyons.
Thank you. I'm here to speak to you all this evening, a good evening, about meadowland mowing. My name is Susan Lamy. I'm a Virginia Master Naturalist, and I'm also the Laurel Hill Park volunteer team leader, and I'm a site lead. There, as you know, there's no dedicated park staff there full time, but I hold volunteer team sessions there every Saturday year round, weather permitting. Over 700 volunteers have registered with me, and we've worked over 1,700 hours in the past 3 years. We're attacking invasives, where we built and are maintaining a large pollinators garden. We're picking up trash. We're conducting citizen science projects to study insects and soil. And we've installed osprey platforms and owl boxes. Our activities teach not only those who participate with us, but those who see us at work about caring for the environment. And we aren't alone. There's a lot of other volunteer groups that are supporting unstaffed parks in a very similar manner. And we all do it because we care about our parks and native habitats. A care I'm sure you all share. And so I think you can also understand how disheartening it is to arrive at our park on any given day and find out that the meadows have been mowed and the habitat destroyed. Several years ago, I had worked out an informal agreement with the then Area 4 maintenance manager that would preserve that habitat and not to mow when obligate grassland species would be nesting. He observed that agreement until he retired. And since then, and again this year, both the large field behind the Barrett House and the smaller field there were completely mowed in the April-May timeframe. I know the park well. I can tell you that the mowing was done in an area where we found box turtles grouped together for overwintering, and in an area that concentrates rabbits, as well as the bird nesting areas. We're close to the landfill, where bobwhite quail and eastern meadowlarks have been sighted. Both of these species are in DWR's greatest conservation need effort. With proper management of habitat at Laurel Hill, we could likely see these birds push into Laurel Hill Meadows. A push made more likely now that the landfill is going to be constructing 37 acres worth of solar field on what is now grassland. I want to be clear that I'm not opposed to mowing or to controlled burns. I know these practices make for better habitat and more enjoyable parks for users. But I am advocating for more thoughtful mowing practices and timing, not just for Laurel Hill, but throughout the system, as several other master naturalists have raised alarms and reported similar mowing during needy periods of obligate grassland species. Mowing has also taken down native plantings done by volunteers at Blake Lane, Nottoway, and Oakland parks. Plantings encouraged by the Park Authority and other conservation groups, which suggests to me that we need better system-wide communication and practices. So I'm going to leave you with a short handout, a sampling of the most significant impacted species, and a simple list of good mowing practices, which I hope you will adopt. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Lowney. Now we will have our second speaker. Thank you for raising again. I apologize. We will have now our second speaker, Ms. Margaret Fisher, joining the floor. We'll have 5 minutes for your comment. We will start it.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Margaret Fisher. I'm one of the coordinators of the Plant Nova Natives campaign and now of our new Fairfax Tree Rescuers Prism. But today I represent only myself as a volunteer invasive management area site leader. It's been a great joy and privilege to be a steward of Chapel Road Park in Clifton, which is a 25-acre jewel of a wildlife sanctuary on Pope's Head Creek. The management needs of the park are clear except for the meadow, where there is no set plan in place to guide the mowing schedule. I am hoping that FCPA can remedy that situation, not only there, but across the system. What seems to be lacking is a system of coordination between natural resources and the facilities departments to assure that the mowing practices maximize the habitat value of our parks. Left to itself, Chapel Road Park's meadow will fairly quickly convert to woodland, which would be a great loss to the grassland species that make it their home and to the humans who enjoy the beauty of what is locally known as frosty meadows. I therefore welcome the periodic mowing, but am concerned about the details. Last year, the mowing was done in summer, pretty much guaranteeing the maceration of any nesting birds or other small critters living there. And one part of it has not been mowed for a few years, allowing trees to start to grow up. Since I know the park intimately, it would be a simple thing for me to sketch out the places that need mowing, if only there was a way to have that written into a policy that could be easily accessed by the people who come to do the work. I know that I am not alone in this concern. Even Ursanga has had the experience of having his garden beds accidentally mowed over. Although I am no expert, I can summarize best management practices for mowing. To avoid killing the native grasses, mowing decks should be set to at least 10 inches. Native grasses are the most important element of functioning meadows. They are the host plant to many insects, including the grass skipper butterflies, which have experienced steep declines in numbers even faster than other species of butterflies. When you mow too low, you end up with a lot of tall fescue and other invasive grasses that don't support wildlife. Mowing too low also kills the box turtles, a threatened species, as well as other small animals. Mowing should be done every 1 to 2 years to keep down invasive plants such as autumn olive. Whenever possible, the timing should be arranged to minimize habitat loss and to avoid killing the wildlife. The bottom line is that February is the ideal time and that the nesting season is the worst time. By mowing in February, or if necessary, early March, you only leave a short time without food or shelter before the plants start to grow up again. Don't mow in a spiral pattern from the outside in, forcing wildlife into the center where they get mowed over.
mow from the inside out to allow wildlife to escape from the area. Finally, be sure to hose down the equipment before moving from site to site to avoid spreading the seeds of invasive plants. The same principles that apply to meadows also apply to remnant strips along the roads and the edges of fields and woods, places that provide small pockets of habitat within the sterile oceans of European turfgrass. The questions that I hope you will address are these. Could FCPA create a system for developing detailed mowing policies and maps for each park, with input from the volunteer as well as the paid managers? Do the mowing contracts contain language for practices to minimize ecological harm? Do the area managers have adequate authority to enforce contracts with consequences for failure to comply? I thank you for your work to allow our natural areas to be functioning ecosystems and look forward to progress on this issue, which is definitely within the power of SCPA to address. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, great. Thank you, Deidre. We have full admin items. Admin item number 1 is a resolution to honor Dr. Elizabeth Crowell, Fairfax County Park Authority's Archaeology and Collections Branch Manager for her 22 years of service. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Yeah, that motion carries, and I have a proclamation to read. Whereas Dr. Elizabeth Crowell has served the Fairfax County Park Authority with distinction for more than 2 decades, sharing her passion and know-how in cultural history and archaeology with countless visitors, staff, and county residents, serving as Archaeology and Collections Branch Manager for 22 plus years. And whereas Liz represented FCPA on the Fairfax County History Commission, served on the History Commission's History Conference Committee since its inception 20 years ago, Inventory of Historic Sites Committee, contributed to and committee member of the Confederate Names Inventory and the African American History Inventory, and oversaw hundreds of FCPA projects to identify, evaluate, document, and interpret Virginia, Indian, and historic period cultural resources, and author of numerous technical reports and published professional papers. Whereas Liz served as representative for Friends of Fairfax County Archaeology and Cultural Resources, represented archaeology and FCPA on the Fairfax County Architectural Review Board, was co-chair of the Fairfax County Civil War Sesquicentennial Commemoration Committee, served on the Fairfax County 275th Committee, served on the 250th Committee for the Commemoration of the Revolutionary War. Whereas Liz was the past president and board member for the Council of Virginia Archaeologists, was recipient of the Lifetime Achievement Award for Middle Atlantic Archaeological Conference, member of the History Committee for the Society for Historical Archaeology. Whereas Liz has worked closely with county agencies fulfilling our countywide archaeology responsibilities, co-authored the first Fairfax County Cultural Resource Management Plan in 2006, and worked on the team for the American Alliance of Museums reaccreditation. Whereas Liz has worked as an archaeologist for more than 40 years, having earned a bachelor's degree in anthropology from Rhode Island College, master's degree in history, historical archaeology from the College of William and Mary, and master's and PhD in historical archaeology, American civilization from the University of Pennsylvania. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Fairfax County Park Authority that it expresses appreciation and thanks to Dr. Elizabeth Crowell for her outstanding contributions to the Fairfax County Park Authority and residents of Fairfax County, adopted by the Fairfax County Park Authority Board on Wednesday, June 25th, 2025. Congratulations. Thank you. Do a little photo.
Here, Liz. Come up with us.
Yes, back with everybody. Okay.
Right here,
Yes,
we're in
me.
front of the gold medals.
Okay.
This way.
Okay.
Adria, yeah.
Wait.
Yeah, all right, got it. Yep.
Yeah, okay, sorry, I thought you guys were. What are we hearing? So.
Yeah, we can squeeze in.
You go here.
We can squeeze in.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
As the floor is yours if you have any.
I just want to thank everybody on the Park Authority Board and the Park Authority staff for a great, the opportunity to represent archaeology in the county. And I just have to say, I have a wonderful staff of really dedicated and talented archaeologists who work with me. And I know that when I move on, that they'll continue doing good work for the archaeology and resources of the county. And just thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Administrative item number 2 is a recommended adoption of the minutes of the June 11, 2020 Park Authority Board meeting. Do I have a motion?
So move.
And a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the meeting minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. We have one action item tonight. It's the recommended adoption of policy 111, the policy for remote participation in meetings, and policy 112, the policy for all virtual public meetings. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Any discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. And there's 2 information items tonight. Info 1 is a deer management plan and info 2 is a legislative program. Both of these were presented to and reviewed by the Park Authority Board during committee meetings held June 11, 2025. A couple chairman's matters, just to touched on a little bit during the budget committee, but just to reemphasize for everyone, that August 27th meeting is now confirmed. That's when kind of the first round of cuts will be presented to us for the first time for kind of our input and any feedback we have, and that'll begin a several-week public comment period. Josh mentioned that I don't have the exact dates, but it'll start around that same time period and go for a couple of weeks afterwards. It will also include some comments during our September 10th meeting, and then ultimate endorsement, again, begrudgingly, of the cuts that we have to move forward will happen at our September 24th meeting, just to meet the timeline laid out by the county executive. Want to point out, we do have one more meeting before, but want to point out on everyone's schedule here, July 10th at the Government Center, just across the street. It's the Outstanding Volunteer Awards reception. It's 5 o'clock. That's the start time. Anything happening before that? Is that like when Mr. Chairman McKay is going to go through and talk, or? No, I'll be there.
I will actually be, but we'll talk about it later.
I did. Oh, okay. Got it. Just starting at 5. Got it. So if anyone's available to come out 5, shake some hands, thank some volunteers, it'd be great to have you out there. The only other thing I want to point out, last week and over the weekend, got a couple different parks. We celebrated Juneteenth and recognized a bit of the history and contributions of African Americans who helped shape our region. Thursday, which is actually June 19th, we offered tours and educational experiences at the Sully Historic Site. And then on Saturday, Jay and I were at the Historic Meeting House, where tours were being offered at Frying Pan Farm Park. That is all I wanted to throw out there, Jay.
Okay. Hot.
That it is.
I do want to, as this is coming up, I want to thank staff. I know it's hot every summer, but the pivoting and the ability to keep our campers and everybody using it as safe as possible. Also understanding that summer camps are school age daycare. So the option of closing is not an option for a lot of parents. So being able to be nimble and provide other opportunities, indoor opportunity, or keeping these kids cool is they're on it. And I want to thank all of them for everything that they're doing. Next up. Okay, so the Wonder Wagon wins the 2025 Social Justice NAC Pro Award.
Very
At the
sweet.
2025, there's Amy.
What does
holding
NAC
the-
Pro stand for?
What does NAC Pro stand for?
National Association of Park and Rec Officials.
Why don't you
Okay.
do the slide, Amy? Go ahead and talk about it.
Okay, so we held our NAC Pro annual meeting. It was in Detroit, Michigan. Actually, great weather, I have to say. And we won the Social Justice Award for the Wonder Wagon. Since the Wonder Wagon went live, the wagon has reached over 7,400 participants, hosting 108 activations. And this award confirms that the Wonder Wagon has enhanced accessibility for FCPA's award-winning nature center programs, and regardless of the neighborhood or socioeconomic status. And I have to say that one of the regions that we visited had a Wonder Wagon that we kind of looked at when we were first doing our look at what it we wanted to see, what it would look like. They didn't win the award. We won the award. So because our outreach was much different. So
I know that it's very much in demand, like, right, there's no wiggle room to book, like, there's more people who want it than we have time. And so there has been some talk about trying to expand. Is
so
that just talk? Do we have any thoughts about that?
the foundation is raising money for the second.
Okay.
Yes.
We have to wait until after, it's not the van will be great, but it's also waiting until
The
after
people.
we clear to be able to ask for the people.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Sorry, and just as a caveat, maybe we can schedule a time to come back. I think we did. Didn't we come back and talk about Wonder Wagon? When did we last talk about the Wonder Wagon board? Didn't we just do that? Okay. I think it would be good to bring it up. I think it's so popular that it oftentimes with in my opinion, oftentimes with the requests for it, we forget what the whole intent was. And so we get a lot of requests for places that are sort of outside the equity areas or close to nature. And that's really not the focus with limited spaces. Was the focus of the Wonder Wagon. I think that there's opportunity for two. Really another one to continue with this work, but also to maybe get into schools. But anyway, maybe we can come back. Okay, Hidden Pond hosts National Trails Day on June the 7th. As a premier example of one of our many trails, Hidden Pond Nature Center hosted National Trails Day, hikes and hands-on nature-based activities. There are also informational tables about the work being done through the Helping Our Lands Heal program, as well as trail stewardship and recreation. The Park Authority Board Chairman Kyle Stone was present to greet guests and encourage neighbors to enjoy the 334 miles of trail we have across the county. Special thanks to Nicole Mitchell, Jim Surface, Jim Corcoran, Sarah Oberthur, and Brittany Vasquez. I believe we'll have, there was some video that was right there. Thank you. Great job.
No, I
we
was
have-
told not to wear a hat.
Memorable Father's Day car show at Sully. The ground was very wet, but the rain held off long enough to welcome thousands to Sully historic site on Father's Day. FCPA and George Washington chapter of Model A Ford Club jointly sponsored this car show for over 50 years. Next slide. As Kyle had said before, we had hundreds who commemorated Juneteenth this year. Commemoration events at Sully Historic Site and the Meeting House at Frying Pan Farm Park took place on June 19th and the 21st, respectively. Hundreds of visitors learned about this important national holiday and were inspired by interpretation at both sites. Kyle, like we said, Kyle and I attended and were at the Meeting House at Frying Pan Farm Park. But the Sully site was also very, very well attended. Next slide. As I said before, it's very, very hot. So there's a little bit of information about the temperatures. I think it got to 100 degrees today. I'm not really sure. But all staff are taking extra care to keep our campers safe. Frying Pan Farm Park enjoyed an ingenious cooling station, converting a barn stall into a very cool misting station. I know from experience as a parent of a camper, like Fairfax has a misting station, and my kids coming back and talking about all of the fun that they have and being able to translate what they do into the staff changing things because of the heat. So instead of coming back and talking about kayaking, it's like, look at that, we did tie-dye. Like, I bet you did tie-dye. I bet you that was inside. Like, I bet you did tie-dye inside. We were going to do tie-dye on Thursday, but we moved it to today. We're going to do kayaking tomorrow. And but they still come back having a really wonderful time in camps. There's also, this is on the side, but the county also has cooling stations around the county. Many of our sites serve as cooling stations, most of our rec centers, most of our buildings with air conditioning that are open to the public. And so when it's a cooling station site for the county, they give out vouchers, bus vouchers for people experiencing homelessness to be able to go, or people who don't have air conditioning to be able to get to locations. And then each location that is a official cooling station, maybe we'll have this slide for next time, has things like bottled water, sunscreen, and other those things that people can enter and ask for. So we're very willing members of that somewhat network for cooling stations to make sure that that we can limit any kind of health issues from our residents. Next slide. So our camp hot weather procedures, all of our camps and our contract partner summer camps, our staff are all trained to recognize the signs and symptoms of heat-related illnesses. Strategies that some of our camps follow. Throughout the summer, campers are encouraged to drink plenty of water. They have 15-minute break each hour. During heat advisory conditions, staff implement more frequent cooling breaks, water and shade every 10 to 15 minutes during extremely hot weather. Staff limit strenuous exercise and sports activities. Activities move indoors when appropriate, especially during the hottest part of the day. Camps move inside or to shaded areas for alternative activities and extended breaks. Proactive communication with staff, participants, and parents during pre-camp communications. We'll make calls when it's code red or purple. We'll say camp is still on. That's the first thing that our camp directors always say, but then say that they're going to have modified activities. We get questions a lot, not often. People who need the child age daycare understand as to really, you still had camps. We have to still have camps. As wonderful as our camps are, and as great and fun parents have to work. And so we are still providing a very vital daycare services. So that's why we still have camps. Next slide. July is National Recreation Proclamation Month. So the 2025 theme, Build Together, Play Together. And so at the Summer Entertainment, the Evenings of the Eclipse on Thursday, July the 10th at 5:30. There's also going to be a proclamation presentation to the Park Authority, Neighborhood and Community Services, McLean Community Center, and Reston Community Center with Chairman Jeff McKay in recognition of the countywide contribution to leisure and recreation. We previous years have had the proclamation done at the BOS. Staff come with shirts. We're trying something a little different this time to encourage more participation, and it's a little bit funner to do it at a concert than right before the BOS. So that's when we're going to be doing the proclamation for Park and Rec Month. Next slide. Some of the upcoming events include fireworks at Lake Fairfax on this Saturday, the 28th from noon to 10. If anybody's interested in coming, if you're new or haven't been before, it's kind of like rolling into the water mine at like 11 o'clock in the line and wondering why can't I get in? Please give us a call and let us know. We'll try to organize, make sure that you can get in and get us parking space and actually see things. It's going to be very, very busy and very, very packed. We would love to have you though. The Summer Entertainment Series continues. There's a the link to the performances And our farmers markets continue to rock. And visit our neighborhood market, and there's a link to those. Next slide. Oh, we have the one. Didn't make it. Okay, I'll just do it. It's fine. On Tuesday, this is like so last minute. We just got an email today. Today, on Tuesday during the BOS, Dan Stork did a proclamation, a board matter, specifically thanking the Park Authority for our work getting Mount Vernon Rec Center open. We'll send it, we'll have it sent out because it was an email. So we'll send it out so you can read it. As very nice for Supervisor Stork to put that together. And I just found out today. So try to get it.
Good deal. Go around the horn. Ken, do you have anything for us this evening?
Can you hear me?
You can.
Okay, just real briefly, as probably most of you know, I will be stepping down as Providence District Representative on the Park Authority Board. My last meeting will be July 9th. And a very qualified successor has been recruited, you might say. And I'll have more to say on the 9th about that. So I'll see you all on the 9th.
Thank you, Ken. Faisal?
All right, thanks, Ken, for giving us this shocking surprise, but I'll save my comment for the next meeting, and with that, I'll pass.
Dr. Carter? She's still with us?
She unmuted and muted. I'm not sure. Do you know?
Oh,
Yeah, there she is.
Where is she?
No,
Oh, no.
I muted
Any-
myself. I don't have anything. Thank you.
Okay, good deal. Mike?
Nothing. I'm just gonna remind Ken that he really needs to go to the 4th of July this year when they'll save a parking place for him.
Thank you.
Jose?
I just wanted to say that I was at the Sully Historic Site Juneteenth celebration, and I wanted to thank all the staff. Really meaningful slate of presentations, and it was wonderful to take my daughter there.
Great, thank you for being there. Rich?
I was a participant in the Father's Day car show at Sully, and I can attest that it was a great event, and it actually didn't rain during the time of the show there. So it rained a little before, so it was a great event. Linwood also came, so I met his wife there, and so it was a good gathering for car folks.
What car did you bring?
I have a 57 Ford Thunderbird.
You could bring that to a meeting.
Yeah, right up front.
Give everyone a ride around.
Yeah.
Bill?
I had the opportunity to attend the Sports Tourism Task Force meeting on Monday. It was a very interesting conversation. Myself and Jay and Amy and the rest of us didn't necessarily appreciate being told by Visit Fairfax that the Fairfax County Park Authority did nothing and delivered nothing. After we had spoken about just opening up 2 new sheets of ice, all the other things that we had done, but bringing no value to the table. So it left a pretty horrible taste in my mouth. And we'll discuss that further. There was a proposal from the committee, from the overall committee task force, to create a separate authority just to concentrate on sports tourism, and that was voted up. But Jay and I voted no, and Kathy Smith abstained because she didn't think there was enough time that had been put into consideration of some other matters. Supervisor Bierman was also there. He expressed some of his thoughts. Supervisor Alcorn was there. Rodney Lusk was there. So fun time was had by all.
So
I did a picture of the parking deck. I got a call and had to turn around and go to a meeting.
the task force made their recommendation that goes to the board of supervisors, and it's up to the board to decide what they're going to do. Okay. Got it. Thank you. Abena?
This past Friday, I got to visit the Kingstown farmer's market. It was hot. But the vendors were out there with some really good stuff, and maybe or maybe not, I enjoyed some stuff. But it was.
You're allowed to.
Your chairman, tried his first meat patty at that
Oh,
farmer's market ever.
oh, really? Okay.
true.
Did you like? Okay,
it was quite
I'm not
good.
gonna set you up, but
I wouldn't have mentioned it if he didn't love it. I was stating right.
yeah.
Yes.
So I got to introduce myself and thank them for showing up and participating, and the staff was there, of course, working hard, and volunteers. Fun.
Great. Tim.
I pass, thank you.
All right, anything else for the good of the order? All right, we are adjourned. See you guys in a few weeks.
All right.
Stay cool.